Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Direct Agents 2020 Holiday Planning webinar. Given the state of affairs, this year is shaping up to be the biggest e-commerce year that we've ever seen. But also, given everything that's going on, we think it's prudent to start planning much earlier than usual. So hopefully you find today informative and you can take away some specific action items for your teams and for your companies. So the sessions we'll be having today. So I'm going to start off with just a brief kind of big picture, macro trends, different consumer sentiments that we need to prepare, be aware of and prepare for. We'll have Daniel Owen and Emily Lee diving deeper into specifics on what is happening in Q4 and what you can prepare for. We'll have our direct agents, Megan Conahan and Facebook's Miranda Lee, speaking specifically about utilizing Facebook in the holiday season. And then we'll finish with our creative director, Dinesh Boaz, and our multicultural lead, Kari, and our creative team strategist, Adam, to go through creative strategy and what you can do in terms of multicultural messaging for the season. So before I get started, just a little bit about Direct Agents. For those of you that don't know, Direct Agents is a digital marketing agency that myself and my brother Dinesh founded in 2003. We are 17 years in business now, and we're really proud of the work we do. We're experts in performance-based digital marketing, spanning all paid digital media, SEO, data and analytics. We have a pretty robust Amazon practice that we started 3 years ago, and that has been growing with every holiday season, and it's going to be even more important this year. So you'll hear from some of those specialists today. But what we're most proud of is our people in a couple of aspects. I mean, we're proud to be kind of minority owned and founded. We also really think our people are our differentiator, especially in these times. We're lucky enough to have a workforce of 75 professionals from New York and LA that are over 71% diverse, 45% people of color, and that that diversity, that difference, I think, has really allowed us to think differently, be entrepreneurial, really have that kind of entrepreneurial mindset that's allowed us to grow and evolve in 17 years, and it's paid off in results. Our team has had a long tenure. We have over 90% retention year over year, and it's resulted in really fast growth even through this year as well. Some of the clients that we work with, it ranges from everything from kind of VC-backed, fast-growing startups to enterprise-level e-commerce clients, and we do quite a bit in e-commerce, consumer services, home services, media and entertainment. This is kind of just a sampling of some of the clients that we work with. So to start off, I'm going to be talking about macroeconomic trends, how those trends are impacting consumer sentiment, and then some trends to watch, and leaving you with a couple kind of quick takeaways on how businesses can adapt to some of these trends. So just diving into the macroeconomic side. So these are different scenarios that kind of McKinsey & Company puts together, and they've updated. Every month or so, they do a global survey of different businesses and pull in macroeconomic data. So I think it's useful for us as marketers to kind of see what's happening and what some different scenarios could be. So the most optimistic scenario, which we all hope will pass, the virus is contained, hopefully in a relatively short order, and then economic growth returns. So this is kind of like a classic V-shaped recovery. And in this scenario, the U.S., which I've bolded, specifically should see activity, and especially think about us on the kind of the marketing side, all that kind of sales activity return to close to pre-virus levels in Q1 of early next year. So this is the optimistic scenario. In the next scenario, this is more of kind of a cautious scenario. The virus recurs. Maybe there's a second wave of different severities, or a third wave, and the economic is more muted. It's a slower recovery. In this case, unfortunately, we won't see pre-crisis, or we won't see economic activity return to pre-crisis levels until 2023. Now, yeah, this is across the entire country and an entire world. So different sectors will be impacted in much different ways. And as we all know, for those of us that work within e-commerce, in different more digitally native industries, we're seeing much faster rebounds. But this is kind of what it would look like at the macro level. And then in the final scenario, which is the kind of worst case scenario, and everyone hopes this doesn't happen, and there's no kind of percentage of which one will happen or not. But in this scenario, the virus occurs, and there's more of a kind of a break, and we call it an L-shaped recovery. So it's much longer, 2025. So another 4 to 5 years it's going to take for economic activity to return to levels. Now, so what does this mean? In aggregate, any way you cut it, best case, cautious, or worst case, there is a real impact on GDP. The country has felt it dramatically over the last 5 months, and it will take time to recover. And it's the biggest impact since World War II. So it's affected all areas. That impact on the economy, whether it's best case, worst case, or not, has resulted in real shifts in consumer sentiment. In North America specifically, kind of with the surge in cases the last few months, it's resulted in a pretty significant change in consumer outlook. Just in recent surveys, respondents have their switch from positive to a negative sentiment is over 13%. And what that means for us is we really have to pay attention onto how that consumer sentiment could impact the end of the year and different consumer trends going into the end of the year. So specifically, a few things that we're seeing, or we think our clients need to pay attention, is a couple of trends. So one is that shift to more of a value-based and essentials mindset. So I think right when COVID happened, there was an immediate grab for more essential items, and what we're seeing is that shift is still there, and that pervades even as holiday season is picking up and other types of shopping are increasing. The concept of value and essentials is still important. The flight to digital and omni-channel, people have changed behaviors, and that's staying. And then a shock to loyalty. People are more open to trying new brands, new retailers. Anything is fair game at this point. So diving into those details a little bit more. So this is kind of a results from a kind of global survey of of different consumers over the last few months, and we can specifically see what are some of the key drivers of consumer sentiment and what they value. So more mindful of where people spend their money, looking to switch to cheaper alternatives of products. So if a product or service had little differentiation, consumers are more likely to pick the less expensive option, and then more research into products before buying. So this is kind of we'll see where that shift in loyalty is coming from, but people are more apt to research products, really find the best value that they're getting, and being open to shifting. So these are all trends that we need to pay attention to as we go into the holiday season. And then along that same survey, what kind of things are consumers shopping for, and what has changed? So, by and large, not just in the U.S. but kind of across the globe, consumers are adopting their behavior. So anywhere from 70 to 80% of consumers are changing their behavior in response to COVID, and continue to do so. And it's also impacted, how consumers value and what they shop for in new brands. So one, they're open to switching brands, and then two, what are they looking for? And in the U.S. specifically, the top three categories that they shop for is value, availability, and convenience. And these are three things that marketers and brands can really build into their value proposition for the holidays. And availability, which is something that, it's always in every holiday season, has become an even bigger part into this season, just because of shipping delays, availability of products, lots of things that I think marketers have to think about going into the holidays. And then the flight to kind of e-commerce and online shopping in general, which the U.S. is always ahead compared to other parts of the world, but even more so now. And I think what's interesting in the U.S., the trends in categories that had been smaller categories have increased. So groceries, right? Huge portion of people that had never shopped online for groceries have made that switch, and you can see down the list of all the areas that have seen positive growth. So 15 to 50% growth, and it's a pretty wide range for the U.S. in terms of different categories. And we'll be sending all these slides out so you can see specifically. But across the board, if you're selling a product or a service, you may fall into this group of categories that are seeing positive e-commerce growth. So how can businesses adapt? And I found this guide kind of put together by Bain & Company. I thought was really useful in terms of how businesses can use these trends to make real impact. So generally, one, people want to feel less anxious. They want to be confident in their choices. They want, if they are facing financial difficulty, they're going to value. They're going to, other types of options in terms of, for example, flexible payment terms, low interest or no interest offers. So different things that businesses can do. Number two, businesses are or people are more mindful of spending. So that flight to value is here as well. So getting away from the kind of the frivolous things in people's lives in general, but then when it comes to shopping too. So as brands, really looking at how do we address that? How do we really show products, show services that get to the heart of what the consumer wants. And maybe it's price, but it's also maybe just showing value and simplicity as well. Number three, people are really looking at that well-balanced and healthy lifestyle, and in general. And even if your product doesn't necessarily, it's not a health and wellness product, it's not, it's something specific to that, there are ways in messaging, there are ways in just the overall value proposition that you bring to consumers, that I think you have to, at this point, think about this and think about how your product, your service fits into that push to a more healthy and balanced lifestyle. And four, people want to feel more connected, and this is something we're really seeing. It's a shift in local. For example, there's been a rise in people taking advantage of local community banks as opposed to kind of larger national banks. So, lots of examples that supporting local businesses, especially as they've struggled to recover. So thinking about that, and even if your brand doesn't have the ability to be hyper local, thinking about how you can take advantage of the community aspect, as you prepare for and market for the holiday season. And finally, people are seeking out kindness and purpose. So I think this is something, especially in the last few months, that consumers are looking for. They're looking to align with brands that match their values, kind brands, brands that have some kind of purpose-driven mission. And the holiday season is definitely one way that people, they will make their feelings, that matter, right? They will, spend their dollars to places where it connects with their value system. So, definitely something that businesses can be cognizant of and prepare for going into the holidays. So, hopefully that was kind of a useful primer. I think the kind of key takeaways, macroeconomic trends have resulted in some pessimism, or at least caution, in the population at large. There's going to be an uneven recovery, whatever kind of scenario we look at. And what that means is that we do have to pay attention to the changing consumer trends and preparing for this holiday season.